and we're going to move on to the widgets section of the tool. So the widgets is basically going to be where you change the settings for the form and for the photo block. So the first thing to start editing is the sign up form. So you can first choose the sign up form version. So by default it's set to usual, but you can choose specific form versions, say for example gay female. So what setting this to gay female is going to do is basically going to remove the first two steps, because we already know, or we make the presumption that because this is for gay females, the gender of the user is going to be female, and they're going to be looking for other females, and it works in similar ways for gay male, straight male, female. So if you're having a specific niche site, say for lesbians, then you're going to want to use this to skip out the first two steps. But for now, we're going to be using the usual, which gives us all our steps, so we can talk about them. So first one is going to be asking the user about their gender. By default, the text for this question is I am. So you can say, edit this to, what is your gender, for example. However, always make sure that you relate it to the purpose of the question. So we want to know the member type, basically, whether this is a male, female, a couple. So make sure that you define that within this first step. Next, we can choose to remove certain member types from the buttons here on the form. So if, for example, we don't want couple and female, you'll see they've been removed, so you can only select the option male now. However, we're going to want to add back in female, but I'm going to keep it like that. So the next step is asking what the user is looking for, so what member types they're looking for. And by default it's got I am looking for, but again you can edit this. We're just going to leave it default for speed purposes, and again we can edit the member types that can be selected. So again we're going to remove couple and just stick with male and female. The third step is going to be what is the date of birth of the user. So again, default text, what is your date of birth. However, this step you can choose to remove by checking or unchecking this button if you see any reason to not ask for the date of birth. So you do have that option here, but we're just going to leave this like that for now. The next step is asking for the email address. So the email address is going to be, you're going to contact them with their login details, with any offers for sites. So yeah, by default it's what is your email address? But again, you can edit this. You could try with all these questions. You can kind of try, if you're making a site for a specific niche, you can always try and word it kind of appropriately for that niche. But the defaults are here in case you want to just quickly create a site. So the fifth step is please create a password. So it's exactly what it says. Ask the user to create a password for their login. So after you do this, you've got the option to change the names of the buttons. So this is the member type buttons that we have up here, the option to choose from. So you can change the actual text on these. However, it's important to note that you do not change them to mean different things. So button 1 is male, and you'll see this grayed out even after you delete it. So it has to be something to do with that member type. You can't, for example, enter in female and expect the user just to click that and then for the system to know that it is indeed a female member. So you're going to want to keep it the same meaning as the default. So say in this scenario we want to say guys, and then female we're going to change to girls. So same meaning, the user will still know which one they're supposed to be clicking on, and we've just changed the text to kind of change the mood a little bit of the form. Under this again we have couples and CD, TV, TS, which you can edit, but there's no point in us doing that because as you can see we've already deselected that. But you can change it if you're using those member types. Below this you have the option to change the next and the submit buttons. So say if we didn't want to have next for the how the user goes to the next step of the form, we could say maybe continue, and we can save that. So see, continue, guys, girls, what is your gender? These are the edits that were made to the form so far. So below this is the step hint text, and this is basically going in order from step 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So this is the text, the grey text that appears in the form, that kind of gives them a little bit of a hint to what they should be doing, sort of gives them a helping hand, the user a helping hand, tries to encourage them to complete the form. So this one, by default, for step 1, we need to know a little bit more about you in order to help other site members find you. So this is a good opportunity for you to customize the form towards the niche that you're aiming for. So using sort of niche specific hint text is a valuable way of increasing click to registration conversion of your members. But by default, again, you have some basic text in there which is appropriate for every niche and for every member type. So we're just going to leave that default for now, but you can play around with that. So after that, we're going to be editing the photo block settings. So the photo block that appears here, we have a handful of settings for editing it. First one would be to display photo block, which is going to remove, if we uncheck it, it's just going to remove the photo block entirely. In most cases, you're going to want to keep the photo block on though. And after that, you have the option to change the title. So it says by default some of our users, so if we change that to say our members, for example, and we save and preview that, if we scroll back up, we can see the text has been replaced by our members. So the next thing we can do is choose the member type category. So this is a sort of menu that gives you a handful of options. Some of them are very niche specific, some of them are location specific for users. So if you can't see the niche that you're aiming for, or say the location that you're aiming for, it's not a bad idea to just stick with the default in this scenario, which we're going to do. We're just going to stick with stunners. You can also have the option to change the member images from circular. So by default it's on circular, but if we uncheck that and preview, you can see we now have square images for our photo blocks. So we'll keep it square for now. Then below this we have the option of what member types we actually want to be shown in the photo block. So because we're only looking for male and female in the form above, we're going to untick the other two options, and we're going to save that. So that's going to make sure that we don't have any of the member types that we're not aiming for in our photo block. Again, if we use lesbians as an example, we want to have purely females in the photo block. We don't want to have any males. So this is where you'll set this option.